Good evening, family. Hello, how are you? This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Welcome. It's been a long time, but it is such a great pleasure to be here with you this evening. I think this is Monday, right? Monday, September the 30th, 2024, and the time is 9:39 p.m. Hello, it's so good to be back, and I'm so happy to see you all in the chat here. Let us know where you're hailing from. Say hello to the Soul family. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's been about a month since I've been live, but I've been focusing on some other things as I am working with the Republic. And I just want to let you all know, yes, it is true. The Republic is online. The Republic has been restored and is being or has been re-inhabited. So I'm going through some training and some reading, some studying as we prepare for taking certain seats with the Republic. And I'll give more information about that later. But welcome, family. I am so happy to be here. I love you all so much. Somebody says it's Tuesday, September the yeah. Oh, yeah. Today is Monday, right? Because tomorrow is Tuesday, October the 1st. And I know I was born on a Tuesday. I know that's my birthday. So I know that tomorrow is Tuesday because it's my born day. So happy birthday to me. Check in, family. Let us know where you are from. I see Oklahoma is in the house. Welcome. I see Fort Lauderdale, Florida is in the house. Cleveland, Ohio, where I was born and raised. Hello, Sister Shonda is in the house. North Carolina is here. Hello, everybody. And I've missed you all too, Ruben. I follow you on Facebook, so I've been keeping up with you. Thank you for checking in on me. I'm so happy to be here. I see New Hampshire here, Missouri's in the house, Maine, Arkansas is in the house, Omaha, Nebraska, Texas is in the house, Maryland. Someone says happy birthday. So family, I just wanted to come on briefly. I just did 2 shows with a couple of people who asked me to come on their podcast, and I'm so honored and thrilled to be here for our soul family. For some reason, I see my battery is powering down. I've had some issues with my computer, so I don't want to stay on too long. Indiana's in the house, Michigan is in the house, Arizona, North Carolina, New York City. Somebody says, where have I been? I've been with my family and resting, recuperating, rejuvenating. I was tired. I was exhausted. I think YouTube shutting down my channels. They shut down 6 channels and I had to start a 7th one. Then I got restrictions on that one. I was told I'll never be able to monetize again, that I was banned permanently. But it looks like they're lightening up on the restrictions. But I think the good part of that happening is that I was able to get some rest and focus on healing. And not that I was sick, but just I didn't realize how exhausted I was. I was really, really tired from working, when I had to work outside the home, taking care of my grandchildren, taking care of the family, and reporting every day. Because reporting every day means that you have to study, stay abreast of what's going on, read a lot, listen to a lot of different podcasts, talk to people in the military, vet sources, and then understand or comprehend it to the point that I could talk about it so that it would make sense when I talk about it to you all, to the audience, because I didn't want to come on just rambling. And I always want to support my claims with evidence, what we call triangulation. So I wanted to have at least 3 sources to support my claims whenever I give a claim. So that means I have to read a lot of sources and listen to a lot of sources and vet those. And so it took a lot of time and a lot of energy. And then not only know and understand the news, but to be able to teach it or talk about it and then give a positive aspect, because I always desire to spin the news in a positive manner so as to raise the vibrations of our soul family and encourage us to know that we are living in a beautiful, beautiful time, and the enslavement that's been going on all across the planet has come to a screeching halt. So let's talk about how tonight at midnight is the end. It ends everything. And as somebody said in the chat, an end to one thing also means a beginning for something else. So this is the end of the United States Incorporated. I'm going to go kind of quickly because my charger hasn't been working as well as it should. And I see my battery is real low. So tonight, you all know that there is a dock worker strike that is imminent. And if that strike does occur, then the ports in the East, the entire East Coast will shut down at midnight tonight, September the 30th, 2024. So that is important, because if the ports shut down, then that will affect all of the goods and services, that will affect all of the things that are coming, like your supplies. So that dock worker strike not only will mean that we might not be able to get our supplies, and that you should go ahead and stock up as soon as you can, or at least in the morning when you can, but also pay attention to other things that's going on in the news, because this could be, in fact, a reason for a cover for martial law to be announced. So if the docks close due to the strike, people may go a little, I don't want to say crazy, but they might start to worry. People could start rioting. We don't know what that, our goods and services and supplies could be shut down and shut off or cut off for a period of time. And even if it's just in the East Coast, that will affect the entire country. So that's going to happen at midnight. Also, you're going to see a second moon being introduced tonight. Also, tonight is the end of the fiscal year for the United States Incorporated. It is the end of the fiscal year, and October 1st, my birthday on tomorrow, or some people can say at midnight, is the beginning of the new fiscal year. So if in fact it is true that we're going to have a shutdown of the ports, and if in fact it is true that there hasn't been a budget since 2008 from the United States Incorporated that's been introduced that is sufficient, and if in fact, and we know it is true, that the United States Incorporated is bankrupt and defunct, it is the complete total end of the United States Incorporated. And what we're hearing, and I've heard this from many military sources, I'm not just talking about somebody who served in the military. I'm talking about people who are high up in the military. I'm talking about people who are working for the Republic that's being restored. I'm talking about chief justices of the Republic. I'm talking about Secretary of States. I'm talking about many, many people who are working for the Republic, some of whom are training me to take my seat that I'm going to, and I'll announce that later, what that seat is in our Republic. They are saying that this end of the United States Incorporated and them not being able to produce a budget, them being bankrupt and defunct, will lead into an announcement very, very soon that we're going to have martial law. And that is when the military will step forward to let everybody know that the Republic has been restored. Now, this is happening at the same time that the Diddy shenanigans are coming out about the freak offs. Now, people are talking about the freak offs and they're making fun about it and they're joking about it, talking about the baby oil, and they're laughing about it, just making light of the situation. But nobody's talking about how these so-called freak offs were not about just wild sex parties and orgies, but it's about what's been happening to the children. This is about satanic ritualistic abuse of children. So this is nothing to make light of. It's nothing to poke fun of. It's nothing to joke about, because our babies have suffered for hundreds, if not thousands of years at the hands of these nefarious people and entities that were in power. So the Diddy news coming out at this time is important, because this means that they'll be able to tie a lot of Hollywood actors, presidents, banking CEOs, and people working in government to his parties and to the satanic ritualistic abuse of children. One of whom, and speaking of a prelate or a president being involved, is allegedly Vice President Harris. And if in fact it comes out that she was involved in these Diddy parties, then that will be a good reason for her to drop out of the race or to be snatched out of the race. Okay, we know behind the scenes that she's been dealt with, but who's ever playing her role right now as an actress, who's ever wearing that mask, that person or entity will likely step down. That's what I'm hearing. And then when you tie her to those things, alongside of Candace Owens showing that she lied about her heritage, lied about being Black, lied about being a national, lied about being an American, Candace Owens did a deep dive about that. All that coming out will make it more palatable for people to open their eyes and to see that these people in power who were running the country are not lawful and that they are nefarious. This will make it a little easier for the people in power, the military and the White Hats, to start talking about the Brunson case against Joseph Biden, Kamala Harris, and Nancy Pelosi and 385 members of Congress. Now, we know behind the scenes that case has already allegedly been decided, and it's been decided that indeed those people did participate in election fraud. And if in fact that does happen, then they will be dealt with, because they pose as a security breach, not only with election fraud, but opening up the borders and allowing illegals to come in and take over all of our jobs and all of our resources. So bringing out the information about the Diddy parties is important. And this is why a lot of people in entertainment are deleting their social media accounts, because they know it's over for them. It's a wrap, kaput. It's over. They're going to actually be able to tie Clive Davis and some other entertainers, presidents, all of these people to Diddy and all of these parties and all of these things, that heinous things that's been happening to children. Now, when that happens, then Kamala Harris again will step down. President Trump, according to what I've heard, will be able to step forward, and the military will announce that he is the commander in chief. And of course, that means we will not have elections. I've been told from all of my sources there will not be any type of elections as we know it in November. None. But what will happen, from what I'm hearing, is President Trump will continue to serve as the commander in chief, and then at a specific, then a NESARA will be announced, and then what is it, 120 days, something like that, after NESARA is announced, then we will have lawful constitutional elections. So I just want to let you know that it's over for the deep state. They have been declared as bankrupt. They have already been declared as insolvent. And we know that their Federal Reserve banking system that's attached to the United States Incorporated is also insolvent, is also bankrupt, and is also offline. This is why this summer, the Supreme Court ruled that state-sponsored banks were able to detach themselves from the Federal Reserve banking system, have their own charter, their own laws separate from the Federal Reserve, and create and issue out their own lawful gold-backed currencies. State-sponsored banks can do that because now states are sovereign. Now we are actually running the republic behind the scenes. And according to our republic, each state is actually operating as a country. Each state has its own laws, its own flags, its own way of doing things. So again, the Supreme Court ruled that state-sponsored banks can operate separate from the Federal Reserve. This is also important because on May the 16th, you had Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky to introduce the End the Fed Act. And I forgot, he called it the End the Fed Act. What else was it called? There's another name for it, but they call it the End the Fed Act. That was on May 16th. And then it's the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act. And that meant that all of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve had to step down. So that was introduced May 16th of this year. And then May 17th, the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, came down with the COVID for the second time, because he came up with it in January 23rd of 2023, and he came up with it again May 17th, right after the End the Fed Act was introduced by Representative Thomas Massey. So we know, when we understand the code that they speak, that him coming down with the COVID means that he's been dealt with and eliminated. He's faced military tribunals. It's over for him. And what the mainstream media said is that he'll be working from home. So the Federal Reserve is kaput. It's no longer has power, is no longer operating lawfully, but in fact, the duties of the Federal Reserve and the duties of the IRS have been put under the United States Treasury Department. It is now official. It is over, especially at midnight. And I think it's very interesting that the dock workers will go on strike at midnight at the same time that it ends the fiscal year for the United States Incorporated, and actually a beginning of the new fiscal year. So what I'm hearing is that NESARA is going to be announced, martial law is going to be declared, and we're going to hear from the military soon. And then when that happens, then the military will turn over the government back into the hands of we the people. That is the republic. So if you don't know, most of you know that we had two governments working at the same time, operating side by side: United States Incorporated and the Republic for the United States of America. The United States Incorporated is a group of bloodline families that usurped authority from the republic, created their own constitution, incorporated themselves in 1871 in the state of Delaware as a religious nonprofit organization headed by the Pope, along with the queen. And that's why a lot of your lawmakers had to pass, they're called esquire, they had to pass the British accredited registry. They work for the queen, the British crown, and the pope. So that was on that end. But the republic has always been standing. That's our lawful government with our own constitution for the republic. You have the Constitution of the United States Incorporated and the Constitution for the republic, for benevolent, of nefarious. So our Constitution is working and operating. A lot of people were still living by the republic. Those are the people who declared themselves as sovereign. Those are the people that filed certain paperwork that says we're notifying the United States Incorporated. We're no longer going along with you. We no longer have to have our license plates. We're no longer allowing you to access our trust. We're operating as our own sovereign entity. Well, now that the republic behind the scenes has been put in place and is lawful and the old system is defunct, we don't have to fill out paperwork. We don't have to declare our sovereignty. We don't have to go about trying to find our birth certificate and authenticating it and sending notifications to the United States Incorporated because they no longer exist. They're defunct. They're bankrupt. We're all sovereign. As such, we're going to have to start operating as sovereign beings, having our own power in our hands. That means we're going to have to start working in our states to make sure the laws are operating according to the Constitution. And I'll get more on that later because we're going to bring somebody on to talk about how the republic has been re-inhabited and how each and every one of us can now take our power into our own hands to make sure the laws are operating according to the Constitution. So I wanted to let you know that it's the end at midnight. It is over. Somebody told me that Kamala Harris has already been tied to Diddy. I haven't seen any official announcements, but I do know that many of those people in power were involved in those parties. And that's why a lot of people are deleting their accounts. And when they do that again, that will make it a little easier for people to know that she cannot lawfully serve. Okay, because we've already told people that in order to serve as a president, lawfully, according to the Constitution, the forefathers have stated that you have to be natural born and you have to be subject to the jurisdiction of the state in which you were born. Kamala Harris was allegedly born in Oakland, California, but that's even left up to some discrepancy because some people say she wasn't born here. But even if she were born here, her parents were not born here. It's not just about proximity, but it's about allegiance. And since her parents were not born here, they were naturalized here, they are foreign, she was an anchor baby, that means her allegiance is to the country of her father's nativity and the country of her mother's nativity. So that means her allegiance lawfully is to India and Jamaica. Okay. And some people even question whether or not her father is really Jamaican. Many people have said he's actually Indian with a Jamaican citizenship. Okay, but I don't know. All I know is that she's not lawfully able to serve as a president or a vice president because her allegiance is to the country of her parents. Number one. And number two, because there's question about whether or not she was even born in America. So again, it's not just about proximity, it's about allegiance. And John Eastman, who is a constitutional lawyer, can back me up and support my claim. Look up John Eastman says Kamala Harris is not a lawful vice president. That's why Trump said, I heard she's not lawfully able to serve. He knows what he's talking about. And so you constitutional lawyers will tell you that this is the truth. So a lot of people did not receive that as being so, but they will be able to receive that she's had some nefarious involvement with those Diddy ties and Diddy parties. And then that would make it a little more palatable for us to have a discussion about the Brunson case against Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and 385 members of Congress, and Nancy Pelosi. So we already know behind the scenes that case has already been heard, and that it was ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, the trumpet players who brought those cases against them for being a security breach to our country. And we also, I brought this to your attention, that there was an article that came out that says that there was a writ of memorandus that was passed that allowed for Justice Clarence Thomas to single-handedly rule on the Brunson case by himself. He could either call on all the justices to do it, or he can rule by himself. And that's when some of the justices recuse themselves from the case. You know what? I'm not going to be able to decide in this case because I cannot be impartial. So after that happened, Justice Thomas went missing. And so what you see now is a lot of justices are actually hiding. They're actually trying, trying to stay out of the eyes of the public, those that are benevolent, because they know that the public is going to be really upset when they find out that they have ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, saying that Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and 385 members of Congress have operated nefariously and against we the people. So again, bringing up this information about Harris not being American, the fact that she is not able to lawfully serve, the fact that she allegedly has some ties with Diddy and some of those ritualistic child abuse situations, will mean that she cannot serve as the vice president. And it will make it more believable and palatable for the people to say, we're going to distance ourselves from anybody who can harm children. So I'm hearing we're not going to have elections. I want to let you all know that. Now, this is just what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing that we're going to have martial law, that the military is about to step forward and declare martial law, and maybe even have an emergency broadcast system announcement. And during that time, that we'll have 10 days of darkness, or really 10 days of education or re-education about the deep state being taken down and about NESARA being introduced. NESARA is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. You all know the global version of that is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. And that is just a law that was passed in 2000 that says that, in fact, not only have the farmers been mistreated by the United States Incorporated and their central banking system that was operated by the Federal Reserve, but they also mistreated every single human being across the planet. So we're looking forward to all this information coming out. It would be really nice if it happened on my birthday tomorrow, the beginning of the new fiscal year on October the 1st. So again, I've heard there's no budget. Now, I've heard some people say they did come up with a budget so the government won't be shut down, but I heard there also that there hasn't been a budget. And I've also heard that this is it. This is the end. Again, I've heard this from many, many people, starting from, I think I started, well, we've been talking about this for a long time, but last week is when I started getting phone calls that said, prepare. Maybe even 2 weeks ago, before we knew that the dock workers were striking, they told me that dock workers are about to go on strike. So go ahead and get your supplies and just prepare. Not saying it is going to happen, that things are going to be shut down, ports are going to be shut down. But if that happens, people will panic. So you want to be proactive and not reactive. You want to get this information and prepare, because it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. So what else is going on in the news is that gold reached new all-time highs. It surpassed $2,600 per ounce. It was something like $2,667 per ounce. It has come down a little bit, but you know, as the dollar declines in value, gold and silver increase in value. Silver went up to 32. It surpassed 32 ounces, and gold again surpassed 2,667 ounces. That means with these gold and silver climbing in value is that the dollar is done. It's over for the dollar. It's over for everything tied to the dollar. We can anticipate a stock market collapse. We can anticipate a housing market crash. We can anticipate everything tied to the dollar actually collapsing, and everything coming to a screeching halt. This is what Jim Rickards meant when he said that there will be an ICE 9 scenario. Now, he said that when there were some discussions about Project Sandman and Operation Sandman, which is a secret agreement that when triggered, 209 nations will simultaneously drop the dollar for trade and start using silver and gold. And we already know that has happened. We've covered that extensively with the BRICS coalition. What was that trigger? Vladimir Putin going to clean out the deep underground military bases in Ukraine, exposing the Biden crime family and all those nefarious activities going on there. When he did that, Biden put sanctions on Vladimir Putin. And the reason I'm going fast is because my battery is losing power and my charger's not working. And I just found that out, that the charger's not working today. So Vladimir Putin did the ultimate clap back. He said, you can put sanctions on me for exposing you. What I'm going to do is stop trading with the dollar. And that happened in 2022. And that's why the Russian ruble became the strongest performing currency in 2022. You can Google that and find that that's true. Then he inspired Brazil, Russia. Remember, he's from Russia, India, China, South Africa, also known as BRICS, to do the same, to stop trading with the dollar, to use their own currencies backed by silver and gold, and to use gold. After he did that, and all those, the BRICS coalition joined him and stopped trading with the dollar. Then Saudi Arabia joined BRICS. They became known as Saudi BRICS instead of just BRICS. And that was very, very big, because what gave us the financial and economic hegemony, or the United States Incorporated financial and economic hegemony, making us the powerhouse that we were, and have given us a dollar dominance and making the dollar the world reserve currency, was our agreement with Saudi Arabia that we will protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil, and then we will thereby force all exporting nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia and to do it and trade using the dollar. Well, Saudi Arabia joining BRICS meant that that was the end of dollar dominance. That was the end of the regime of the United States Incorporated. That was the end of this secret agreement, or not even secret, this agreement that we would have petrodollar status. That was the end of dollar dominance. That was the end of the United States dollar being the world reserve currency. We didn't even have to go any further than that. Saudi Arabia joined BRICS. That means it was over. They stopped that agreement. And then I think the contracts were up and were not renewed as of June of 2024. That came years after, 2 years after Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, because secretively they joined, at least that we know, in 2022. Then when Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, they became known as Sal BRICS. And then nation after nation started joining BRICS, to the point that in 2022, when Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, came onto my channel, he and I discussed BRICS. In 2022, 85% of the world population, the global population, had already dropped the dollar for trade and were on the gold standard behind the scenes. So imagine how many nations are actually a part of BRICS now. Imagine how many nations have returned to the gold standard behind the scenes now. And you even have nations coming out, publicly saying, we're using gold. You had Ghana just say that they just opened their first gold refinery in Accra, which is their capital. You have Zimbabwe introducing their Zim gold, the ZIG, as the gold-backed currency. You have Iraq saying that al-Sudani, the prime minister of Iraq, saying that, and he said this in November 2022, we're working with the central bank of Iraq to revalue the United States, the IQD against the USD, the United States dollar, and we're working with other countries to return our stolen money. He was not the only country. All countries all over the world repatriated their gold back to themselves and back their currencies with gold. Not only the gold that they repatriated back from the Vatican, but the resources that are in the ground, they're backing their own currencies. So what we have now happening is a global currency reset, where they're resetting the entire system. Jim Rickard said that when all these nations drop the dollar, return to gold, everything will come to a screeching halt, and he termed it an ICE 9 scenario. This is why you may see ATMs stop working for a time, people's cards not working, banks, we already know many of them are collapsing. This thing's just freezing because the dollar has lost its dominance and we're returning to the gold standard. Now, because I haven't been online and because my channels have been censored all across all my social media outlets, thank God I was able to get on today. I haven't been pushing gold and silver on my channel. I haven't even been able to buy gold and silver because my income has halted, because this was my livelihood. They just took away my money and didn't pay me the money that they owe me. I'm talking about YouTube and some of the other channels. However, if you are interested in getting silver and gold, the only place I go to is Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. You can reach out to Andy Schectman, who's a good friend of mine, a good friend of our soul family. He's been talking about BRICS years before people have been talking about it. He's been screaming for years and decades, get silver and gold because it's lawful money, because it protects you against inflation, and it's a hedge against inflation. It's a good way to maintain your wealth. It is, in fact, wealth. You can reach out to Andy at 952. Gosh, I have been so long. 952-929-7006. That's 952-929-7006. And let Andy know that Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you so that you can get the best prices in the industry. That's the only place I go to because he does have the best prices. I've searched all of the precious metals companies that I know of. I've even gone to my local company. His prices surpass everybody. So go to Andy for your gold and silver needs, or go to your local company because you want to establish a relationship with your precious metals companies in your town. You can look up or Google numismatics near me, or gold dealers or silver precious metals dealers near me, and establish a relationship with them, just in case you want to buy locally, and just in case you want to maybe sell some of your gold and silver later on. So Also in the news, you all know this, many of you that's been following me for a long time, that not only is gold has it reached a new all-time highs, but more than 45 states have already repealed or removed the state taxes from the sales of precious metals. More than 45 states, according to the Sound Money Defense League. Please fact check me, look it up. The Sound Money Defense League says now more than 45 states have repealed the state taxes from the sales of precious metals. That means that more than 45 states have reclaimed silver and gold as money. This is exciting because when I first started reporting about silver and gold in 2014, when I was living in Ghana and actually seeing Asian companies and European nations mine gold over there, I kept saying something is happening. We're going to return to the gold standard. Something, it looked like it anyway. There were only 13 states in America that made silver and gold or reclaimed silver and gold as legal tender. Well, now more than 45 states, according to the Sound Money Defense League, have repealed the state taxes from the sales of precious metals, which means that they have reclaimed silver and gold as money. And that is in accordance with the Constitution that says, according to Article 1, Section 10, that the only thing that can be used to pay off debts is silver and gold. And the only thing that can be used as lawful money, according to the Constitution, is silver and gold. The Constitution also defines the dollar as a fixed weight in silver and as a fixed weight in gold, but it's specifically a fixed weight in silver is what I've read. That is probably why Alexander Mooney came up with three bills. He called it the Gold Standard Restoration Act. In 2018, he introduced House Resolution 5404, and then in 2022 he introduced House Resolution 9157, and then in 2023 he introduced House Resolution 2435, and that is to define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. So please, family, just know that tonight is supposed to end everything officially with the United States Incorporated, which is bankrupt and defunct. I've shown you the bankruptcy papers before. So has Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. So have many of the Moors that have come on my channel. So it's over for them. This is a new season. It's a new day. It's a new fiscal year starting at midnight. According to the Hebrews, the new year and the new day actually starts at sundown. So I'm Hebrew, but I do believe in the Christ. So I'm what you would call a Messianic Jew. The new day, October 1st, started at actually when the sun went down today. But according to everybody else, at midnight is when the beginning of the fiscal year happens, October 1st. So we should see a lot of announcements coming out in October. Also, one of the things that's happening in October is the BRICS summit. I can't remember exactly where they're meeting. I did report on that before, but they're supposed to be making announcements about their new payment system and about their new currency that's backed by gold that they may encourage or inspire the BRICS nations to all use. But I don't think they will use a specific currency. I think just my personal opinion, everybody will use their own currency, because with this global currency reset and the doing away with the old system and the restarting of a new system, new go back system, all countries' currencies will be one-to-one with each other. They'll all be backed by precious metals. We're all about to be wealthy, not only just because we're returning to the gold standard, but also your purchasing power is going to increase. Prices are going to come down. And then with NESARA and GESARA, all debts will be wiped away. Let me tell you, family, I know I'm just rambling, but my girlfriend, a very close friend of mine, said that she went to go pay off a loan that she had with the bank for $150,000. She went to make a payment on it, and the banker told her, put your money back in your pocket. That loan has gone away and it's already been paid off. And my friend called me and she was like, I didn't pay it off. And I kept saying, no, you got something wrong. And she said, I tried to force them to take my money, and they said that $150,000 debt has been wiped away. So we see many people bringing about those testimonies and coming and saying, my student loan's been wiped away, my mortgage has been erased. I have a good friend that said that his mortgage was erased. I've had people in my family whose student loans just went away. So what am I saying? I'm saying the National Economic Security Reformation Act, NESARA, is here. It was supposed to be announced in 2001 on 9/11 from the Pentagon, but you know what happened? Those people in power didn't want to see us liberated, so they took the gold out of the World Trade Center. They imploded the towers, and then they sent a bomb or something in. I don't know what they did to the Pentagon, a plane or something, CGI or something, but the announcement did not come from the Pentagon, and we never had this freedom, NESARA, being announced in 2001. but it's supposed to happen as we are in a Jubilee year, a Jubilee season, according to Princess Elizabeth Rodriguez Ruiz, who is the sole executive of the Rodriguez Trust, the King Solomon Trust, and the Saint Germain Trust. According to her, we are in a Jubilee season, which is actually in alignment with and correlates with the Jubilee of the Bible. And so, since we're in that Jubilee season, we should anticipate being liberated financially and economically. So, not only will all debts go away, not only will they be all wiped out, but we do know that gold has already been put forward to pay off the debt here in America and some other countries, as well as Australia. And speaking of which, one of my friends from Australia told me just 2 weeks ago, she said that, Kia, I'm hearing that our Australians' debt has been paid off. Have you heard about that? That we have put forward the gold. And so I said, yeah, in fact, I reported on that in 2022 when I talked about how Judge Anna Von Reitz had been interviewed and brought and said in this interview that gold had been put forward to pay off the debt in America and Australia, and how this was something that wasn't mainstream news, but that it had indeed happened. And I said, yeah, I heard that it happened in 2022. So now people are starting to confirm some of the things that you and I know and that we've been researching, that we've been hearing. So stay encouraged, family. Know that all of this is happening for our good, and be inspired to prepare your humanitarian projects, be inspired to get all the information that you can, because your family members are going to come to you for help when all of this happens. So I know I've been rambling. I am going to take your questions before my battery completely, powers down. My computer powers down. I don't like to say my battery died, because I don't want to say that around my grandchildren. So I say my computer is about to power down. So I'm going to take your questions now. I just wanted to let you know all of that is going on. Let me see what else I want to talk to you about. There will be no capital gains tax on precious metals. I believe that, well, I've been told that all of the currencies will revalue at the same time. Iraq is not going to go by itself, but all the currencies will revalue at the same time. And that makes sense, since they're all participating in the global currency reset, and they've all repatriated their gold back to themselves, and they have all made announcements that they have either joined BRICS or that they're using gold for trade. Also keep in mind that a lot of rare earth minerals have been discovered here in America and in other regions of the world. So those rare earth minerals will also be used to support people's currencies or countries' currencies. So that's it. I don't want to ramble. I don't want to keep you all too long. I could take your questions now and your comments. Pete Williams says the port started their strike today. So they already started their strike. Thank you so much for letting me know that. So that means, family, yeah, somebody says we are ready. You have to get ready. Stay ready if you can. Get you some water. Get you some supplies. Not because the world is coming to an end, or things are going to go mayhem, but just because when the world wakes up and finds out about all the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes, when they find out that we've all been enslaved through the United States Incorporated, when they find out that they haven't been operating according to the Constitution, when people wake up and find out that Nancy Pelosi, it may not even be a female, that she is not lawfully able to serve as president, people might just go mayhem. When they find out that the ports may close, when they find out that the strike has happened, people are going to rush to the stores. So you don't want to be a part of that rush. You want to get ahead of the rush and go ahead and prepare so that you and your family can be ready. Thank you, Sister Rochelle. She says, happy birthday tomorrow. We missed you. Thank you for the update. I love you. I love you too. Will all loans and bank debts be gone? All bank loans, all loans attached to the bank. The only thing that won't go away is personal loans. All mortgage loans, automobile loans, student loans, all of those, even the PPP loans. I heard a woman say that hers was wiped away. All of those loans attached to the banks will completely go away. Absolutely. It is happening. Somebody says, I got voted out of the FEMA camp. Oh, voted out of the FEMA camp. Yes, it's my Earth Day. Thank you so much. I am a disabled veteran. Will this include veterans? Veterans will also receive benefits. Speaking of veterans, the veterans will be taken care of. People on Social Security will be taken care of through the National Economic and Security Reformation Act. And Also, with the overturn of the Chevron deference, a lot of things that they would force us to do, a lot of rules and regulations and policies that they would force us to do before we can get our benefits, a lot of things that these agencies came up with to before we can drive, before we can grow our own vegetables in our garden, all that with the HOAs. Over 426, I believe, agencies that are classified as federal agencies have been declared as unconstitutional, unlawful. That was the end. That if you didn't know that the United States Incorporated was over, when a Chevron doctrine, also known as the Chevron deference, was overturned by the Supreme Court this summer, that meant, so because the Chevron doctrine, that meant it was all over, because the Chevron doctrine said that all of these agencies, these three-letter agencies, federal agencies that call themselves federal, that's not a part of our Constitution or our republic, the Chevron doctrine said they can come up with any laws that they want, and we all had to abide by them. And if we tried to debunk them or go against them or bring them up, challenge them in courts, the judges would defer back to those federal agents and agencies and say they can defer back to them because they're the authority. So what happened with the overturning of the Chevron doctrine or Chevron deference is that the justices declared that all those agencies as unconstitutional and said that forcing us to do these things were unlawful and that they had to dissemble, they had to be taken down, okay? And they said that these agencies have been committing treason, because treason isn't just about taking away, treason isn't just about doing things unlawfully. It's about taking away our rights, period. So taking away our rights and forcing us to get a driver's license when we're not drivers, we're travelers, is against the Constitution. Not only is that treasonous, or it teeters upon the line of treason, but all of those judges who deferred, people who challenged these federal agencies in court, all those judges who deferred back to these unlawful agencies called federal agencies, they will be found guilty of treason. And any judge that knows of a judge who deferred back to those agencies, who allowed that to happen and didn't report it to the president, they are found at, they are called, they have committed what's called misprision of treason. So if you're a federal agency and you force the people to do things that's unlawful and unconstitutional in order to get benefits or in order to live in this world that they created, you've committed treason. You have to be taken down. If you're a judge and you defer back to them, you've committed treason. If you're a judge and you know of a judge that allowed this to happen and didn't report it to the president, you've committed misprision of treason. That was the end of their system. That was the end, family, of the United States Incorporated and all those agencies called the federal agencies or three-letter agencies. Not only are they done away with, again, the Federal Reserve banking system is over, is gone. And I don't know if I said this already. I think I did. Yes, that state-sponsored banks are now no longer tied to the Federal Reserve System. So it's over. It just needs to be announced. So I'm announcing it. I'm getting ahead of the game. You already know this on this channel. It is over for the United States Incorporated. We are free. What's next is preparing for whatever is to come, because they might fight back, with the closing down of the ports. If they do close them down, then, people might they just might not know how to handle that. More information, again, is going to come out about the Diddy parties, about the ritualistic abuse of children. And so you want to make sure you stay level-headed. You want to keep your emotions in check and make sure you stay encouraged and stay positive, knowing that everything's working for our benefit. And you also want to keep a level head, because you're going to have to be the ones to help your family members to understand what's been going on. Okay. Everyone everywhere has been corrupt. I agree. Oh, Sister Janet Robbins said, I had a bank debit card of $5,000 wiped away. Congratulations. Yes, Polish. These agencies were acting as executives, legislative, and judicial. Absolutely. The election will be delayed. Thank you, according to Michelle Fielding, who was a very accurate psychic. And that's what I'm hearing, that we're not going to have elections in November. Nope, we're not going to have taxes either. The IRS has been done away with. Nobody's home. I don't know. The lights may be on, but nobody's home. You can call until you get tired, or until the cows come home, nobody's answering. And if anybody answers, it's an answering service. It's because they no longer exist. We know that happened in around 2018, 2019, when President Trump put the duties of the Federal Reserve and the IRS underneath the United States Treasury Department, right? Anyway, but now it's coming out. And he was able to do that because, according to our Constitution, the only entity that can deal with money should be the United States. The United States Treasury Department, not the IRS, which is a corporate entity that's not attached to our Constitution. If the corporation is dead, how can they have an election? Which is why we're not going to have an election, because the corporation is dead. Absolutely. Good question. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's my birthday. Thank you, Sister Martha. Living Life says, be careful. Don't go out to places with large crowds because they are coming for us. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So be safe, family. Be wise. Be smart. Right, right. The lights are on at the IRS, but nobody's home. 14%. Tristan says the only tax we will have is 14% on new non-essential items, according to NESARA and GESARA. Thank you, Tristan. I love you. And thank you for sending me a Cash App. You always take such good care of me. Anybody else that want to take care of Mama Kia, my Cash App is $MAMAKIA 13. That's Mama Kia 13. And you all have kept me afloat while my channels were taken down. They're still down, except for one. One was put back up. So I'm very grateful to that. I want to give honor where honor is due. I appreciate that. I'm so happy that my channel has been put back up, but I am still on Rumble, and I'll be reporting, when I can get away from family and other duties, and when I can get away from work, because, just like everybody else, Mama Kia got to work. Amy says, so happy to see me on live. I love you more, sister. Tristan says Dr. Scott Young is a NESARA expert on YouTube, so let's follow Dr. Scott Young. Thank you, Sister Chelsea. She says happy birthday. George said happy birthday, Bianca. Tristan, U.S. debt are already paid off. Thank you. Where are you? U.S. debt are already paid off. So few knows this is in the MSM. Oh, they're reporting that the U.S. debt's already paid off on mainstream media. That's awesome. Do I think that the EBS will happen as well? And should we go to work? I do think that the EBS will go off. I don't know when, but it should be very, very soon, especially since I'm hearing that martial law is about to be declared. And that's going to give them an opportunity to re-educate the masses for 10 days. Should you go to work? I can't really tell you what to do. If you go to work and martial law is declared, you're going to be sent back home anyway. So I will just say, use your best judgment. Should you go to work tomorrow? I guess you're asking me. I really don't know. But like I said, if something's going to happen big, they're going to send people home anyway. And by the way, the storm that occurred through Florida, I've heard all type of decoding about that. I heard, like, if you look at the numerology of some of the reports and the name of the hurricane, Hey, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. I just went to my phone. I had to download StreamYard and come on the phone. Let me know if you can hear me, please, by saying yes in the chat. So what I heard is that this storm that we had in Florida was actually some type of communication between some of the people in power, that the elite were actually sending messages. Now, I always have felt this way, that the storms and certain things that they do is actually man-made, and that this is the elite talking to each other. But I heard that when you do the gematria of the name of the storm and some of the things, the news that was coming out relating to the storm, they were actually letting us know that this was the end of their system. So I have to bring up, people who understand and understand gematria to talk about how they know that for certain, because I do have knowledge about gematria, but it's limited. These are the people that told me this. I have been studying it for years. So if in fact that is true, then I would just say that a lot of comms have been dropped over the course of the last few years to let us know that the deep state is over. For instance, a couple of years ago, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the Eagles. And we know that the eagle is the symbol of the Roman Empire. You can look that up. The reason why the Roman Empire chose the eagle is because the eagle is supposed to be a fierce predator. So they chose that symbol to represent themselves. And so when we saw that the Eagles had lost the Super Bowl to the Chief, that first of all, I predicted that would happen because we've been studying what's been happening with Donald Trump working to take down mainstream media and the deep state and talking about how he was going to restore the republic. So I knew that the Chiefs would win. So what we understood that to mean is that the Eagles or the Roman Empire, which is the United States Incorporated. United States Incorporated was the pseudo or the new or the extended version of the Roman Empire. We know that their powers have been stripped away from them, and now the chiefs on the land are in control. So the chiefs on the land, we the people, even the indigenous peoples, their republics, their governments are now back online. That was a clue when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the Eagles. And then the Chiefs won against the 49ers in the most recent Super Bowl. So that was interesting too, because the 49ers is a team that is operating outside of San Francisco. Now, some people thought that the 49ers would win because that's where gold was found in that region. They were like, gold represents freedom. Gold represents our sovereignty being restored. So a lot of people said the 49ers would win. But I said during that time, but they're playing against the Chiefs. And this is the time for the indigenous peoples and we the people all over the planet to take our sovereignty back and operate in our sovereignty, and it's over for the deep state. So I said, no, I can see actually the Chiefs are going to win against the 49ers. And when you look at what happened in that region, San Francisco, Silicon Valley region, we knew, first of all, that the gold was stolen from that area, and then they created Silicon Valley. And we also know that Silicon Valley actually was where all the tech industries were. And we saw a lot of tech industries actually closing and collapsing about 2022, 2023. So I said, nope, Silicon Valley, it's a wrap for Silicon Valley. So the 49ers are going to lose the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and they did. I'm just saying all this to say that the deep state, the people who are operating in power, have always let us know what's really going on behind the scenes. We just didn't know how to read or decipher their coded language. They speak in codes through their athletics, through entertainment, through law, so-called laws and policies, through their shenanigans and things that they stage, like the Alabama brawl. I called that mayhem. I said, no, that isn't real. It looks like WWE. And I told the people then during the Alabama brawl that it was interesting that they had the so-called brawl between shipmen. They used all these banking terms and water terms that were in correlation with admiralty law and maritime law. Shipmen who owned the ship was in an argument or disagreement with a so-called captain of another ship. And because of that agreement, this guy named Shipman caused a fight because he didn't want his ship to be undocked at that particular bank by the water. And because he got in a fight with a Moor or a black man, which it was a Moor or indigenous man or a man that represents the chiefs on the land or the original Americans, he got into a fight or a brawl with this melanated man, and then a bunch of black people or Moors or what I would call indigenous people, the mainstream media reported they moored across the water to go and help the captain fight against shipmen. And I said, then this is a stage act. It's a bunch of shenanigans, a bunch of malarkey. They're actually telling a story about how we were on in maritime law and admiralty law. That's why they talked about a ship being docked by the bank. And this is a fight between shipmen who happens to be Caucasian. They got to make everything about race against a Moor or a so-called black man. But really a story is being told about how we're moving away from the so-called white supremacy. And that's not, to me, it's not about race. It's about a power structure that was put in place to enslave everybody, regardless of your race. And I said, then they talked about the Moors coming across the shore, basically letting you know that we're getting rid of admiralty law and maritime law and going back to the law of the land, which is why there's this whole discussion about the ship being docked by the bank of the river. And I brought up that it was interesting that this so-called brawl happened the day after President Trump had given a very monumental speech to a Republican Republican convention right across the street from where the brawl had occurred in Montgomery, Alabama. I mean, they make this thing look all elaborate, and they want to stage this big old fight and make it look like something was really big happening. There was a fight against the two so-called races, black and white, when we're all one race. We're all human beings. We've all been enslaved. It's just a bunch of shenanigans. It looked again like fake wrestling. There was no bloodshed. The police allowed the fight to happen. As a matter of fact, my son and I did a deep dive into the Alabama brawl and how they were actually letting you know it was the end of the deep state, the United States Incorporated, and maritime and admiralty law, and we were returning to the law of the land and the land of the Moors, or the law of the Moors, who are the indigenous people of America. So their shenanigans that they stage, their false flag events that they stage, their what you call it, sports activities and events with the NFL, the NBA, all that is rigged. Even the horse races. I raised my kids in Kentucky. I lived there for over 25 years. The horse races in Kentucky, that's all staged. No telling what else is going on besides a 3-minute race. But it's kind of hard for me to believe that millionaires and billionaires are coming to little old Louisville, Kentucky, just to watch a 3-minute race, and that's all they're doing while they're throwing around millions of dollars and partying. Okay, what is going on at those parties during the Kentucky Derby? Why is it known that a lot of them stay at the Brown Hotel? We all know, if you're from Louisville, that there's an underground tunnel that goes from the Brown Hotel to Churchill Downs, where they hold the Kentucky Derby. We all know that there are tunnels all over Louisville, Kentucky, and all across the world, actually. And so these millionaires and billionaires come there. What's going on in those big parties that they talk about? What's going on in those underground tunnels? What's been happening to the children that's been missing, not only in Louisville, Kentucky, but all across the world? You're going to find out, I'm going to find out, that it's not just some freak off party that's been happening in Hollywood. It's a party that's been going on, a party to hunt and do harmful, heinous things to our babies. And people in power, politicians, are all or have been involved in these parties. So when this news comes out, it's going to be over, completely over for the deep state. And so bringing Diddy out, who some people are saying was an agent, some people are saying he's just a cover story. I don't know what he is, but we've all known that he was allegedly sleeping with Usher and a lot of these young boys, Chris Cross and all these young boys. Toto was in one of his groups. Cassie, I don't even know why people are acting like this is like, y'all acting brand new, like y'all didn't know this was happening. Like, you all heard of the part. Most of us have heard of the parties. It's just that it was fun. It was something to laugh about. Just like people made a big deal of Hugh Hefner. And some people are saying, well, that's different because Hugh Hefner was having, arrangements and parties with grown women. No, ma'am, no, sir. A lot of those women were actually little girls. A lot of those women were actually underage, what they call underage women, which means girls. Okay. So Hugh Hefner, Weinstein, Epstein, Ghislaine, Diddy, and many other of those people initiated a lot of officials, a lot of bankers, a lot of people, a lot of athletes into these secret societies by filming them doing things to children. And I actually know people who know Diddy, who made it to the Grammys, who are entertainers, who did it on their own accord and said, I will not participate in these nefarious activities. And they were able to move ahead without signing contracts, without being involved in these secret societies. And so they're able to speak out about it now because they're not a part of the shenanigans. So I just bring this out to let you know that the reason why this information is coming out right now is because they're going to tie this all to Kamala Harris. They're going to tie this all to a lot of the officials that many of us have come to follow or to know. And they're going to tie it to some pastors. Some of the people that you all know personally are going to be brought to the light as doing very harmful things to children. So just know that this is it. It's over for them. The good news is that this is vindication for our children. This is vindication for our human family that have been enslaved financially and economically and politically, been enslaved through all their legal codes and statutes and what else do you call them? Not laws, but policy, statutes, and codes. It's over for them. And speaking of that, their policy enforcers or police officers will also have to step down. And that is actually occurring. You can Google it right now that police departments all across the nation have shut down. And the duties of those departments are rolling over into the sheriff department. And the reason that is happening is because, according to the Constitution, the sheriffs and the sheriff departments, or the sheriffs as other people call them, are actually the true lawful enforcers of laws and not police officers. So that's why Donald Trump said during 2020, when everything was shut down, we don't want to defund the police department. We want to root out the bad apples. Because at that time, we could not defund them. They were maintaining some semblance of law and order while Antifa and BLM was destroying the country. But he said, when the time is right, we will weed out the bad apples and retrain police officers. He was letting us know that the republic is being restored because, according to the republic, the law enforcers are the sheriffs, the sheriff departments. And those police officers, when we close down those departments, who want to serve will be retrained and work with the sheriff department. So that's it, family. I don't want to keep you on too long. I do want to answer some more questions at this time. Kamala said, I can't understand that. Something will crash the economy, the unrealized capital gains. All that has to happen. 100% transparency. We're going to have 100% transparency and full disclosure. E. Henry said, they'll do an EMP or power grid attack. Okay. And yes, Gigi says we're having a big strike, that it has already begun. Thank you so much. Somebody's saying, yes, okay, you guys can hear me. Thank you. Can you speak what you said about the election where Trump comes back in the United and as the commander in charge, please? Also, what does car insurance? Are we still going to have to pay car insurance? No, we're not going to have to pay car insurance because a lot of those car insurance agencies will actually go away. We won't have to pay car insurance. We won't have to have a title and a tag in order to but I said we don't drive, we travel, because driving has to do with commerce. We're not, most of us aren't operating in commerce. Most of us are just traveling, going from one place to another. So we're not driving. Driving is a commerce term, a commercial term. So we will not have to have car insurance. We will not have to have a license plate. We will not have to do a lot of those things that they have mandated that we do, because most of those things are unconstitutional, where they're trying to put extra burden upon we the people, and also those entities that came up with these legalities and these statutes and codes and these policies. A lot of them will go away. They will be dismantled because they are unconstitutional. So if those entities are done away with, so are their statutes, their codes, and their legalities. That is an excellent question. So yes, speaking of the commander in chief, what I heard was that Donald Trump is now, as you all know, the commander in chief, and he still is. He hasn't gone anywhere. He never seceded. If he is a president, it is the president of the United States Incorporated, is what I heard. But we do have a president for the republic. We do have a Republican president as the republic. What I heard is that the information that Harris participated in or allegedly participated in some nefarious activities with Diddy and doing some things, that she should not have been doing. Once that information come out, she would likely drop out of the race. That's what I heard. And once that happens, then we can have a discussion with the masses about not only how she operated unlawfully, doing some heinous things, but then we can start having a conversation about how she was not able to serve as a president or vice president because her parents they were not born on this land. They were never naturalized. She was an anchor baby. So the state does not have jurisdiction over her. She's not subject to the jurisdiction of the state of California. She does not have an allegiance to the state or to her country. So those conversations will be a little more palatable once people come to hear that she participated in some nefarious activities, likely with Diddy. When that information comes out, she will probably step down or be encouraged to step down, just like Biden was encouraged to step down. And has that ever happened? He stepped down and they just put up Kamala Harris. Like, they're just doing a lot of stuff that's unprecedented. So then we only have one person left standing, which is President Donald Trump. And I heard that when that information come out about her and also about how she's not really an American, Trump will continue to stand as the commander in chief. And then the military will come in, allegedly, according to my information, talk about all the stuff that's been going on with Kamala Harris, with election fraud, then even be able to talk about the Brunson case and how it was brought against Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Joseph Biden, 385 members of Congress, and how it was ruled in the favor of the Brunson brothers, and therefore all the people that I mentioned will be completely stripped of their credentials, and they will no longer be able to serve again, and they will be dealt with by military tribunals. I'm hearing that the military will come forward and talk about that once we get rid of Kamala Harris, and it's understood that Trump is the commander in chief. Then I'm hearing that the military will also overtake mainstream media, which I think has happened to some degree already. And we may have an emergency broadcast system announcement, which will allow Trump and the military to circumvent whatever mainstream media is still around to talk about all that has occurred and how NESARA is now online, and they will usher in NESARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, which will eliminate all debt and will also give everybody on the planet, not just here in America, but everybody on the planet, a certain amount of money, like a universal basic income every month. And that will be given to us in our quantum financial accounts, or our QFS, which each of us have. The QFS is a lawful financial system that is attached to the gold standard. It is a sentient system that was given to us by otherworldly beings. It is advanced technology that can read your energy signature to make sure that when you access those funds, you have good intentions. And if we have any intentions or plans to do things like buy children or do things with drugs or do things that are against the law, we will lose access to our money. So make sure you have a pure heart. Make sure you're not going to do anything that you shouldn't be doing, but you're using that money to help yourself, your family, and the world. So those announcements will come out through the military, either through an EBS or some other means circumventing the mainstream media. Again, that'll happen after we get rid of Harris, and it's understood that Trump is the commander-in-chief. It will be announced that we will likely not have any elections, because you can't have elections for president of the United States Incorporated if the United States Incorporated is indeed bankrupt, defunct, and insolvent. And at the time that NESARA is announced, we would then, those of you all who have currencies, exchange those currencies. That's what we call the RV, or revaluation of currencies, which actually the revaluation is happening now. Global currency reset, revaluation of currencies is happening now, where each country's currency is being revalued or reinstated back to its lawful value based on the gold standard. So that's actually happening right now, but you'll be able to do the exchange at the same time that NESARA is being announced. And then after that, we will have re-education. Some people are saying for like 10 days, it might be a little longer. And that re-education process will be military and other people coming on the television, on the computers, on the phones to let us know about everything that's been happening, to let us know about the republic being restored and being returned, to let us know that our sovereignty has been returned, to let us know about NESARA-GESARA, as well as some other things. And I heard that we will also learn about our true history in America and true history all across the world in terms of people's origins, true origins, and in terms of their government and their republic. And this re-education process that will happen for 10 days will just kind of catch people up to speed. Many of us know a lot of this that they're going to tell us already, but we've only scratched the surface, because they're going to go into talking about what happened to the children. We're going to also see some public executions. I heard, I don't know how heinous they're going to be, but some public judgments, some tribunals that are happening online on TV, because this revolution will in fact be televised, okay, on the television, on the computer, on the phones. And that's why we will need an emergency broadcast system announcement to shut down all other broadcasts and podcasts and all that, so that everybody's energy can be focused on this information coming out. And then there are also books that are being rewritten, because we've all been lied to about everything. So the new books that are being rewritten will talk about the truth, the truth about who the Aboriginal peoples all across the world are, the truth about history as it occurred. We only know the story of the conquerors. We don't know the story of the people on the land, and that information will come out, as well as some other information. So this is an exciting time as we enter into this new era of disclosure. This is the age of Aquarius. We entered into a golden era, and to some amazing and new timelines will be introduced as we ascend to higher states of consciousness. So that's about it, family. I really don't want to keep you on too much longer, because we've been on 1 hour and 15 minutes. I want to honor your time. I love you all so much. And thank you for saying happy birthday. I saw a couple Cash Apps come in. Thank you all so much. Let me see. Della and Smith sent the Cash App. Thank you. Sister Marjorie sent a Cash App. God bless you. Thank you. Martha sent the Cash App blessing. Thank you. And to all the others who have sent a blessing to me throughout my time being away. You're so gracious. Thank you. I appreciate you. I honor you. I love you. And I respect you. I have a great admiration for we the people who have stuck through all of this turmoil, all of these unprecedented events. But the time is now. The time for our sovereignty is now, family. It is here. So that's about it. I have been on for almost 1 hour, 17 minutes. No more cleaning out all the technology. It's all over. Oh, for somebody asked my Cash App, it is Mama Kia 13. That's MAMAKIA 13. So family, I love you so much. Somebody says no more cavities. Wholeness and happy vibrations to you, Sue, Sister Monica. Tomorrow's my birthday and it's the beginning of the new fiscal year. So let's keep our eyes open, our ears open. It's Tuesday. They like to make a lot of announcements on Tuesdays. You can mock my words or mark my words. Something big will happen tomorrow. So that's it. I want to, yeah, somebody says, please check in with Rod Hayes and Young Elder regarding Ashtar Command being in control of NESARA. Okay, thank you all so much. Good night. I love you so much. I don't want to keep you any longer. God bless you. And I hope I said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Pleasant dreams. Good night.